Hi, everyone. Chris Stegall here from MK Partners and Mambo Merge, joined by Jesus Penaloza, also MK Partners and Mambo Merge. It is October. We are, you know, underway with the Salesforce Winter 23 release. And as always, whenever there's a new release, Jesus and I pour over the release notes, play around in our Trailhead orgs, and try to come up with a summary of the new features, updates, and functionality that really stand out to us and that we think that users and admins and devs are going to really appreciate. We do know there are a lot of release notes, so we do these release highlights to try to, capture some of the good stuff that you might have missed when you were looking through hundreds of pages of documentation. So, Jesus, thank you for joining me today, and I'll let you kick it off with, the features and updates that stood out to you the most.
Thank you, Chris, and hello, everybody. It's nice to be back here. What do you call it's as mentioned by Chris? Is that time of the year again? It's good to know that there's constant updates, so we have the opportunity to go ahead and learn and adapt to changes that come in this ecosystem. So, with that in mind, first thing I want to kick off is a feature that has been discussed previously earlier this year, but it looks like that time has come now, and that pertains to the Pardot Classic app. Pretty much on the 17th of this month, it'll be official that all apps stored within any Salesforce org of Pardot will be removed on the classic version. But don't worry, that doesn't mean that Pardot's going away. Pretty much, as you heard, it kind of got absorbed with account engagement, which is pretty much Marketing Cloud there. And it's going to be added to that service and product. But it's no longer going to be called Pardot. It's going to be account management, which is going to slowly get converted as the months go by. So the Pardot name will go away, and it'll be part of the account management within Marketing Cloud. So just keep an eye on that. And for some reason, if you do need to go back and kind of see what the classic app, and it won't no longer be tied within Salesforce, but you can still access the standalone legacy app by itself going to the pardot.com. So pi.pardot.com site, and you can access it through there. For some reason that you need to go ahead and either retrieve some of the data or test some functionality of some sort. But I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of articles and stuff that will help people that need to do some sort of transition at some point or have already done that. There should be a lot of stuff online, so kind of check that out.
Yeah, and it's my understanding that this is basically just a name change and sort of like where it will live in your org. Pardot becoming Marketing Cloud account engagement. Um, the tools and features should all stay the same. It's just going to be a name change. So our certifications, instead of being a Pardot specialist, I will be a Marketing Cloud account engagement specialist, which is more of a mouthful, but I won't have to relearn anything. It should all sort of stay where it was.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So all that investment, all that effort you put learning the service will not kind of feel like it's kind of being put to the side. So you'll still be able to apply and use it moving forward.
Exactly.
Next up is actually one feature that caught my attention just because I'm new to Slack, and I was trying to familiarize myself. There's a whole bunch of certifications that Slack has on its own standalone from Salesforce certifications. So it's good to kind of familiarize what features and changes is happening because Slack got absorbed by Salesforce, but it's its own entity. However, though, there's a lot of push to kind of get Slack to be the norm for communication. And as new updates are coming up, one of the resourcing tools that people use within Salesforce is reports and dashboards. Right, it's one of their go-to tools to kind of assess their day-to-day activities and kind of figure out, okay, well, where do I need to spend most of my resource at? So with that in mind, it looks like Slack has provided an option to do a subscription model where you can be able to subscribe to various reports and dashboards. Currently, they have a limitation. It looks like it's going to be up to 7 at one time, a combination of both. So it's not 7 reports or 7 dashboards, it's a combination of both, a total of 7, which will then alert you through the Slack platform when changes, based on how you want to automate that setup. If you want to have updates provided to you on a daily basis, hourly basis, weekly basis, monthly basis, it will send those reports to a Slack group or a group of individuals that you assigned. Or they can go ahead and feel free to automatically subscribe when they see something come up on their feed. What I caught my attention just because the ability to just quickly subscribe to something and kind of get reports on an ongoing basis is going to be beneficial and essential, especially because you want to, if there's individuals within a team that want to understand your business approach and what should you be strategizing and focusing on to allocate the most resource on. These reports tend to be one of the means that individuals use to determine this. So I thought it was a nice addition that will be added to Slack.
Yeah, I can see this getting used right off the bat. There's so many organizations that use Slack already and Salesforce. And so in Slack, you've typically got like your sales channel, your marketing channel, whatever, all your team sort of have their own group channel. And there's a lot of departments that you have a regular weekly meeting or bi-weekly, whatever it is. And in that meeting, usually the person running the meeting is pulling up the team dashboard. So if it's a sales meeting, it's usually like the pipeline report. If it's like a business development, maybe it's like call numbers and connections and everything else. And so having the Slack subscription, I feel like is a great tool because you can set up that subscription. So right before your meeting kicks off, you can have the report in the dashboard kick to that team channel. And that way everyone's jumping into the dashboard and the report right before the meeting and not waiting for the team lead to post the pipeline report and everyone trying to like squint and see where it is on their screen. It's like, oh, every Monday we get the sales, marketing, and support dashboards thrown in the appropriate channels so people can act on that right away, right, without having to click back and forth.
Yeah, I feel it helps people understand and better assess the report from an individual and a group perspective. Because somebody else might see something that you may not have caught on firsthand, and I guess that builds up better collaboration and team building overall. So I think it's a great way for people to kind of get a heads up instead of kind of be like, oh, well, what just happened? So if you kind of maintain on an ongoing basis, then you'll be up to date and figure out kind of predetermine or at least kind of keep an eye on things that you anticipate should be happening or are not happening.
Yeah. And it looks like we have Tommy joining us. So I'm going to add him to the stream here. Tommy was
Right
also
on.
able to run through the release notes. So welcome, Tommy. Right now, Jesus is running through the things that stood out to him in the release notes. And then I'll throw to you. I know you took a look at some of the Einstein search features. And then I'll run through mine sort of to wrap up. What Jesus just covered was the ability to subscribe lightning reports and dashboards directly into Slack, which seems like a really powerful feature.
Yeah, it sounds great. Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Jesus, what was next for you?
Yeah, so the next thing that caught my attention, which is something I thought was somewhat implemented in some way, was the custom address fields that are going to be available now within what do you call forms and any type of data collection. Which provides individuals the ability to generate pick lists based on information entered. So one of the things that was noted is the Google Lookup search is not going to be built into the option to enter custom addresses when people are entering information or trying to either subscribe to something or register their personal delivery address or their address of choice for receiving or sending information. So that I think is going to be pretty cool because the ability to have Google Lookup kind of identify an address, especially when you're trying to figure out what's the zip code or what is the region, state, country. Every geographical location is kind of mapped within Google itself, so it kind of has already a built-in database. So being able to tap into that is going to help kind of refine the information you need to enter, so it automatically populates based on some basic information you enter. I guess there is a little bit of concern because there are some pick lists that get generated through this may be visible to everybody, it can become somewhat of a security issue or some sort of information release that some companies may or may not want to make available to everybody. So I guess there are some requirements, limitations, clauses that are being sent out with this, and it's still being assessed. So this feature is available for the most part, but there are some updates that are being made in the process, just because of the fact that people have reported back some concerns. So we are keeping an eye on this and kind of report back to you what new changes come up. I'm curious to see, what's going to be a solution or a point that's reached that is felt comfortable amongst everybody.
Yeah. And this one caught my eye too. Just the ability to have, custom fields that use the address type, I think has been missing for a while, and probably something that you really noticed if you worked in like real estate, or sort of anything that has like a field service component where you needed more than a shipping and a billing address on an object. Maybe it's previous addresses that you've had for a customer, or if you're a real estate firm, listings that are open or like similar listings that you want to compare. Being able to have multiple addresses on a record in custom fields is going to really boost the functionality of those custom fields and cut back on the workarounds where people are like, this is the standard billing address field, but it's not a billing address, it's our closest comp for a recent sale or something like that. So good catch on that one, Jesus.
Thanks. And last on my list is, as a marketer and just coming back from Dreamforce and being able to attend a handful of community conferences, one of the things that caught my attention was the devices used to engage with attendees, partners, anybody that went to these events. I've noticed that most of the time there were iPads, and I always wondered why I didn't have any Androids. So I kind of figured out and tried to understand, what were the device support options and browser support itself. I did notice a lot of people doing demos. They were engaging with customers or collecting information, obviously using Salesforce, or within a device is something that would help them collect data and kind of feed that back into their company so they can kind of assess and figure out what's going to be their go-to-market, approach to engage with those individuals after the event is over. So one thing I found out, obviously, is the fact that I see the reason why most of the devices are iOS or iPads is because that's the go-to support option within the tablet space. So Salesforce has its own built-in app, which is functions perfectly just right, the way it should be within both Android and iOS devices. However, though, if you want to use a browser itself, which kind of helps maximize the visual space, you have to use iPads. So, and within the Safari browser itself, and it has limitations to the rotation. So they do advise you to go ahead and lock the rotation screen, so your tablet's not going from horizontal to vertical back and forth. You kind of just lay it on the side. And then you would use that to demo some of your stuff. So you want to run or go pull up some reports, or kind of go through a scenario of a demo of an app installed, or just go to the process itself. You will use the Safari browser. But if you're using desktops and laptops, pretty much just make sure you have the latest browser installed, as they like to add it within the notes, which I found kind of funny. Is they call it the latest stable browser version. Just make sure you have that, which pretty much just means just make sure you have the latest browser edition installed. So if you don't, you can always go to the browser. You should get notified if there's any update. If you encounter issues, just go ahead and go back and check to see if you have the latest version release updated, and that should pretty much fix all your problems. If not, there's always the help desk. You can always submit a support ticket, but they feel confident and comfortable that the latest version of the browsers, which includes Microsoft Edge, Chrome, Firefox, and Safari, Apple Safari, within a desktop or laptop environment should work fine.
Yeah. And I think the the big thing about Safari being supported on the iPad is like you were saying, at events, iPads are great because it gives you a chance to like take a product demo, but put it into a user's hands, put it into the hands of a prospect and say like, here, you can click around, you can see how everything works. And when you have to use the Salesforce mobile app, that's a great way to demo if your prospect's use case is going to be mobile. If it's like, oh, our sales team is on their phones visiting clients in person, we need a way for them to update a record with their phone. You're like, yeah, let me show you that on the mobile app because that's what they're going to use. But at an event, when most of the people there are going to be using Salesforce on their desktop computer in a browser, you don't want the demo to be on the mobile app that they're not going to use. You want them to have the same screen and experience that they're going to get at work. So having Safari supported is a great tool that lets you, demo full functionality in browser in the way they'll see it on their computer screen without having to lug a monitor around with you and make people gather around. You can put it in their hands and say, hey, give it a spin. I think the only other thing to point out is that Safari treats the Microsoft Surface and Surface Pro devices as laptops, because even though they look like tablets, they are technically laptops. So those do get the full browser support that you were mentioning above, as long as you're on the latest stable version of Chrome or Microsoft Edge, what have you. Those will work in what seems like a tablet experience, although Salesforce treats them like a laptop.
That's a good workaround. That could be a potential work. I haven't seen many Surface devices in events, but I could be wrong. So we haven't attended all events.
Yeah, the only reason I know the Microsoft Surface is because they gave them to all those NFL coaches, and then Microsoft had to scold the announcers because they kept saying like, oh, and the coach is checking his iPad, and Microsoft said like, those aren't iPads, those are Microsoft Surfaces. We paid billions of dollars for this marketing partnership. You can't keep calling our stuff an iPad. All right. Well, thank you, Jesus, for running through those. Tommy, I know you took a look at the Einstein. What stood out to you in the release notes?
That's correct. So first of all, I think a lot of clients want to know what exactly Einstein actually is. And that's why in the recent blog post that's being published, I have a summary in there as to basically summarizing the fact that it's Salesforce's AI platform to best implement your overall marketing activities, such as focusing on your audiences, send time, engagement frequencies, and send time optimization and whatnot. It's available within Marketing Cloud for most editions of it. Pardot has to be in the advanced platform, so it has to be like the upper scale for use. But one of the big things that is happening with Einstein is the fact that, from what it seems like, is that Salesforce is pushing for more customer service related to it. So there's a boost agent productivity with Einstein, Einstein Search for Knowledge. So basically, service agents can find relevant articles faster and respond to customers for expedited case resolutions and whatnot, which is big because eventually I think what Salesforce is trying to do is trying to really push for a bigger audience for Einstein, as if, it was sort of in the background for a while, but now, it's ready for prime time, if you will. So that is what is going on, at least partially, with the new release notes for next year. The other one is a pilot mode, which I'm still curious about. I'm still wondering what this actually is. I might have to dig further. Again, it's in the blog post, but basically its agents can take action, immediate action, by using Einstein's search answers to extract the most relevant information from a knowledge article. Seems kind of vague, But basically, agents are there to stand by and can go ahead and provide, you know, uh, enhanced hand-holding, if you will, for clients using Einstein, if you will. And the bulk of it is going to be in Marketing Cloud for sure. This part out advanced feature that that is tied to Einstein, as we all know, is probably going to disappear because Pardot's going to be fully rebranded into another naming convention and be sitting in Marketing Cloud. But either way, it will be available for part of the Pardot product line. But in general, it's going to be available with good customer service within the Marketing Cloud realm in general. And that's the biggest takeaway, I think, is the fact that, you're going to have the Einstein search, which is going to provide information, and you're going to have agents available for better case uses and whatnot. So essentially, like when you're at least what I would think is that when you're logging a case for typically for like say anything in like Journey Builder or Legacy Email Studio, there's going to be more of that for Einstein as Salesforce is really pushing for this AI platform, and I think that's significantly important. The other thing, just reading through the notes here, are that the return answers are just 3 lines so that the agents are able to copy the answer and its internal link into their clipboard and share it without leaving the page. So essentially, the customer service is more of an express platform, which is going to be nice. And
Yeah, this is a time saver for your
yeah,
service agents because I think the old way they had to navigate to the documentation page, manually copy it, then go back to where they were working and paste in the link and the relevant chunk of text. And this way, Einstein's going to do that lifting. It's going to go grab the relevant text, or 3 lines of it at least, and the link, so you never have to leave the record page. So you can be on the phone and you don't have to say, okay, hold on, give me a second. Oh, it's loading. You can say, okay, I'm pasting it into the chat right now. You should be good to go.
yeah, exactly. And I think the most important part of this part of the release is the fact that, like I said, there wasn't a whole lot of background as to what Salesforce was providing with Einstein. It was like, yeah, we got it. It's here. It's cool. It's good. But really, like, what are the full-on capabilities? And so now when a client goes out to use it, there's obviously more background now compared to say like in, I don't know, like 2019 or something like that. But also they're going to have just better customer service representatives that can handle cases and whatnot. So
Yeah. Cool.
that's the biggest takeaway. And
Awesome.
yeah, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this pans out for sure.
Yeah.
So.
Thanks, Tommy.
All
And
right.
now I'll jump through what stood out to me. First one is probably no surprise if you've been following our release highlights. What would it be without a mention about multi-factor authentication? It seems like for the last 3 years, every new release has had a front and center note about multi-factor authentication, whether it was, hey, here's the deadline to get it turned on for your team, or here's the deadline for when we're no longer going to be allowing non-MFA'd access. We're past all of those deadlines, right? February of this year was when you had to have MFA turned on for your team, but they still put this front and center saying that in in the first half of 2023, Salesforce is going to be automatically enabling MFA. So if you've somehow managed to slip through the cracks and avoid having your users establish multi-factor authentication, most commonly with the Salesforce Authenticator app on their phones, Salesforce is going to do that for you. And so if you haven't already prepped your users and done the MFA setup on your end, you're going to want to do that before the end of this year. Otherwise, when Salesforce flips that switch, you're going to have a bunch of users that can't log in, a bunch of frantic calls asking how they set up the authentication app, etc. So admins, you'll definitely want to keep this on your calendar. Next thing that really jumped out at me as a cool feature is the ability to add the to-do list to the utility bar at the bottom of the window. We've seen we know that there's a lot of users that use their to-do list and their pending activities to sort of manage their day-to-day, especially on the business development and sales side when you're trying to keep track of which calls you have yet to make, which follow-ups you're trying to do, who you promised that you would reach out to today, or upcoming demos and all of that. And it was a component that you could add to page layouts, but the ability to add it to the utility bar means that your users will always have their to-do list right there, so they won't need to keep a separate tab open on the page layout that they like to work off of. They can be in the contact record, making updates about the phone call they just had, and then pop open the to-do list and jump right into the next activity. So I think that's going to really sort of streamline the day-to-day use for a lot of users. I also saw this update, the having multiple options for from email address and list emails. This is, specifically on like the Sales Cloud side of things. This is functionality we've had for a long time in Pardot and Marketing Cloud. But for your sales users, this is going to be a bit of a way to empower them on their email sends, especially if you have a use case like we do, right? We have MK Partners, the consulting side of things, and we have Mambo Merge, the app that we've built for document generation in Salesforce. And we have sales folks that sell both services. But if you've got an email from somebody who's interested in Mambo Merge, you probably want to reply to them from your Mambo Merge account. Or if you're emailing all your prospects about Mambo Merge, you'll do it from your @mambomerge.com email address. If you're then sending an email, following up on clients who are maybe ready to renew, you'll do that from your MK Partners email address. And that used to sort of always roll into a marketing request where it was, hey, can you send this email to our clients so that it comes from the right domain and hits them and build a little journey out of it. But now sales reps and users are going to have like a handy little drop down where they can select from their verified email addresses, choose the one that's the most relevant and send it quickly. So really cut down on that back and forth and empower the sales guys to send out the content from the address that they want it to go to. Probably not super widely applicable, but if you have a use case like ours, it's going to be tremendously helpful. I also saw some Slack updates that caught my eye, like you, Jesus. This is not the subscribe to reports and dashboards, but it's actually just the generally available Sales Cloud Slack integration. The thing that really stood out to me here is the ability to see and update accounts, contacts, leads, and opportunities, as well as the pipeline. So what that'll mean is if you're on a sales demo call, right, and if you work at Salesforce, then that demo call is going to have an AE who's the sales rep and also an SE, like a solutions engineer, who's going to run the actual technical demo. And that's a format that I've seen reproduced across the technology space, from applicant tracking software providers to learning management system sellers. There's sort of always a sales guy or sales girl and a solution expert running the technical demo so that the sales rep can talk while the person running the demo can manage all the clicking, and you don't end up like me where I'm trying to talk and click at the same time and taking big long pauses, right? Uh, and one of the things that happens on those calls is usually you'll have a Slack channel between the two people participating or more where they're communicating and taking notes so that somebody can go update the record at the end of the call. Well, this way, everybody can just take their notes in that Slack channel and they'll be posted automatically as updates to the record. So you can collaboratively take notes during a sales presentation. You can make updates without having to navigate back to the record. And it should really streamline things in terms of the communication and the updates in Salesforce, which is really sort of the payoff that we've all been expecting and waiting for post Slack acquisition by Salesforce. Just any ways that they can help take that work that we're already doing in Slack and port it directly over into Salesforce. And I think this is sort of a really big swing at that that's going to have a lot of positive impact for users.
Yeah, I guess just to add to that, I guess with this feature they just presented, the one I talked about earlier, it adds to their whole model, which is making a digital headquarters space environment where everything that you need to interact with your entire company as a whole is being unified into one central location. So I guess it just adds a little bit more to that, and more of the reason that I personally want to pursue more knowledge and understanding of the Slack platform to better understand. I believe there's certifications and there's a whole journey and trail that you can kind of pursue on that kind of space as well.
Yeah. And I think Salesforce is probably optimistic that this is going to help them bridge the gap. I think it was Dreamforce 2020, 2021, where they pointed out that something like 90% of the Slack clients weren't using Salesforce, or 90% of Salesforce clients weren't using Slack. There was some huge, almost unbelievably big number, because everywhere I've worked has used both, but a big number that wasn't, their Venn diagram didn't overlap a lot between the two products.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of those things. And like you said, anything where they can connect Slack and Salesforce, I think Salesforce is probably really excited about, because that should make it easier to convert those companies that use Slack into Salesforce clients, because they're getting pitches from Oracle and everybody else in the CRM space. And so Salesforce can say, hey, you need a CRM, or you're currently using one. You're already doing all this work in Slack. If you switch over to Salesforce, you're going to save yourself a whole lot of time copying and pasting from one to the other. There's not as many, an Oracle integration with Slack doesn't exist at the same level as the Salesforce one does, especially post acquisition, because now Salesforce can build whatever pipe they want to connect the two services.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Next couple of things that caught my eye were related to Flow. Flow being, Salesforce's preferred automation tool nowadays, and this one was overdue for a while. The ability to cut and paste flow elements. So it used to be that when you were building a flow, if you wanted to take a chunk of your flow and move it somewhere else because you're like, oh, new requirements came in, we got to add a bunch more steps here. The old way was to select the pieces that you wanted, copy them, so they're saved to the clipboard, delete them, add in the stuff you want, and then paste them back. And as somebody who's used a computer post 1995, it's like, if you can copy and paste, you should be able to cut and paste, right? Like, let me add it to my clipboard and remove it in one keystroke. And so they added the ability to do that. I think there were also some other requirements, like when you did the copy and paste, you had to go change the API names after the fact. But now you can just go ahead and cut, paste, and it'll have all the updates done automatically. The other thing that I know that Flow users will appreciate is just getting a little bit more screen real estate. So the old Flow screen when you were building a flow looked like this, where you had, your standard Salesforce pop out, and it had all this border where you'd see the grayed out version of whatever record or page you were on, which is, fine for standard Salesforce stuff, but when you start building really complex flows, it's all very crammed and you end up trying to like zoom out, but then things are really tiny and hard to read. So you can see the updated screen editor. We've cut down on a lot of that margin on the left and right hand side, really sort of expanded it out into widescreen. And it just gives you more visibility into the thing that you're working on instead of trying to make you work in a tiny little pop out window.
I can only imagine which set of what do you call recommendations this came from. It feels this is a UI request, and they must have been received quite a bit of times for people for them to make this kind of change. You feel it'd be something very simple and easy to do. I don't know how complex it would be to resize everything to make sure it's adjustable and it's responsive, but it's nice to. I feel like this kind of came from the community as a request, and it kind of goes to say that if you voice your concern, then people will listen, right? And it's good to see that. So I kind of found this one very interesting. As you're like, okay, it's just a very simple window. What do you call? Kind of expand. Not really. If you kind of think about it in the back, and somebody must have had these issues, and you kind of provide a good explanation, and somebody heard, so action was taken. Now the question is, I guess, is how long have I been preaching this and saying this for? But it's here, so that's good to know.
Yeah. In my head, it's a super easy fix, right? It's like, oh, change the padding from 25% or whatever it is to 5%. But like you said, there's probably a lot that goes on behind the scenes. I know front-end developers have to fight with all of the different browsers and everything else to make things work. So
right.
What I would like to, or I won't say like, what I would hope to see next, maybe even, is just the ability to go full screen with the pop out, because
There you go.
I don't have a ton of use for the gray space around it. I would like, especially if you're working on a laptop or a tablet where screen real estate is already limited, give me the stuff I'm working on as big as possible, and it doesn't need to look super pretty with a layover or anything like that. So this is a great step, hopefully the first of many towards just really expanding the edit screen on Flow. And the last Flow feature that caught my eye, something else that I think admins will say it was long overdue, is the addition of a search bar when you're adding an element. So let me try to zoom in here, give you a closer look. But it used to be, when you would go to add a Flow element, you would get that long list of potential elements, and you kind of had to scroll through, and you had to develop the muscle memory to say, okay, I know they're alphabetical. I know send an email is 2.5 mouse scrolls to get to. I know that, update record is a U, that's 4 mouse scrolls to get to. But they've added a search bar, essentially like the quick search bar in the setup screen. So now you can just type in send, it'll show you send email. So that's one of those, another thing that's like a minor time saver, but I know super appreciated, and probably, like you said, came from the idea exchange. Somebody finally asking the question, like, why can't I search? You know what all the elements are in a flow. I know what all the elements are in a flow. Let me type in the first few letters and get the one I want.
Well, it's good to know that improvements are continuously being made. And I think as a whole, honestly, it just depends on how much prioritizing, right? So these finally came through the pipeline. Okay, we can get these done now. Let's get this done. And then a few months later, we'll be talking about the new requests that have been submitted and see which ones got picked.
Yeah. And then the last couple of things that I noticed that caught my eye are really more keeping house maintenance kind of things. First one has been on the horizon for a while. Just the fact that Salesforce has finally turned off the ability to create new workflow rules. This was something that they warned about in the summer 22 release. As all of that sort of automation effort moves into Flow, and they back out of process builder and workflow rules, they've long said, we're going to turn off the ability to create new ones. You'll still have the ability to maintain, edit, deactivate, etc., your existing workflow rules for now. We'll see how long that lasts. But with Winter 23, they have officially turned off the ability to create new workflow rules. So if you've been holding out, learning how to use Flow or just relying on copying and pasting existing workflow rules to try to save some time, now will be the time to hit Trailhead, really brush up your knowledge on Flow, and make sure that when that next request comes in, you're ready to go and not surprised when there's no create new button on your workflow rules page.
Do you feel like this was because of something that was caught within the within the flow space? It feels like, why would they block something, to
Yeah, I think it's just because Flow really sort of got built to be the go-to spot for automation on the CRM side. And so, if they have a tool that they've developed that they want people to use for automation that can do as much as Flow, because Flow really replaces workflow
okay,
rules and process
gotcha.
builder. And so
Hmm.
anything that they can do so they don't have to maintain process builder or workflow rules or continue to make updates for those in addition to
Gotcha.
Flow
Okay.
is going to save them the development efforts. And so I think that's just why they have finally turned it off, because they're like, eventually, Salesforce is always changing. Eventually it will change enough that the old workflow rules won't work with the new features. So let's just turn off people's ability to create them now that they've had time to get Flow ready.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense now. Okay. It's not necessarily a negative, it's more inevitable that you want to avoid having to overspend resources on maintenance. That is no longer going to be the part of the direction for that.
Yeah, yeah. Flow gives you, the functionality of workflow rules along with a bunch of other functionality. And so it's like, let's just get everybody using that. That way we have one thing to update, one thing to upgrade, and sort of bring together all of the different use cases into one sub-platform, I guess.
Gotcha. Okay.
Last thing that caught my eye, and I'll be honest, I don't know what tab-focused dialogues are, but I saw that we had this in the release notes that said, keep working with tab-focused dialogues, and the note is, this release update has been postponed indefinitely and not enforced in its present form. Don't enable it. And so, maybe you knew what the tab-focused dialogues were. Maybe you didn't, but I just wanted to call out to admins everywhere. If you see a checkbox in your settings for tab-focused dialogues, don't do it. They're telling us not to do it. They're not telling us what it is. They're just saying this has been postponed indefinitely. Don't enable it. So if it's if it's a checkbox that you found and you were curious and you flipped that switch, you might want to reach out to Salesforce support if you're not able to uncheck it. But I would just say keep your eyes and ears open for tab focused dialogues. Don't enable them.
And if you do know what they are, you can put it down in the comments to share what
Yeah,
the rest
exactly. Yeah, please do.
I would be curious to know.
Yeah.
It caught my attention.
My guess is the ability to do the same way you sort of do like the in-app contextual help dialogues, where you can like add help text on hover over certain things that would trigger on the different tabs inside an app in Salesforce. But again, I don't know. That's just a guess based on the title. So, all right. Well, those are the release notes that we have run through for Winter 23. I want to thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Tommy, for highlighting the ones that stuck out to you. As Tommy mentioned, blog posts running through these release highlights are available on medium.com/creme de la CRM. So do head over there, and I'll throw the links to the posts in the description of this video here as well. As Jesus mentioned, if there was something that we didn't cover that you think is going to save you or your users a ton of time, or really expands the functionality and power of a certain part of the platform, please do call that out in the comments as well, so we can make a video running through that update. And as always, stay tuned here for the latest news in Salesforce, updates, reviews, events, etc. So thank you for watching. Please do like and subscribe as well. And thanks, Jesus. Thanks, Tommy. Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys. Thanks, team.